back, everyone. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to each other's soulmate. What is up, guys? I feel like it's been a while since you and I filmed, because it is.
Yeah.
We filmed in advance last week with Althea on. And then we filmed with Althea, and then it was just you and I, but we went kind of backwards.
We
So I feel
did.
like, we kind of like skipped ahead. That was our first time like skipping ahead and then going back and filming a scene. So I think it kind of threw us off like a tad.
It's a
So
little
it feels like just a little bit.
back though.
Yeah, we're back because guess what? This episode is season 2, episode 9, Old Dogs, New Dicks. And guess what? This episode is halfway through season 2.
Halfway.
Can you believe that? Already, it is insane. Like it really is crazy how much it flies by so quickly, and life just passes us by, and we try and get an episode out every week, and it's nuts. It's nuts. Like I feel like we just did the live and like wrapped up season 1. I feel like that was like yesterday, and here we are halfway through season 2. And the second half, like I'm getting ahead of myself probably, but the second half of season 2 gets wild. It's a whole we'll get there, but stay tuned, stick around, because it is a fucking uphill battle.
Yeah.
But once again, we are each other's soulmate. We are a Sex in the City broadcast. We are 2 broads talking about our 4 favorite broads in New York City. So with that, let's get into season 2, episode 9, titled Old Dogs, New Dicks. And time for more sensory on my end. We're gonna have to blur out dicks.
I don't know if the word dicks being on as the title, but well, this episode, like we said, is called Old Dogs, New Dicks, and the overall theme of the episode is, can you change a person? Are people going to always fundamentally be the same person, or can they change over time? Can a relationship change them? We shall see. So in this episode, we have Charlotte, who considers breaking up with a man over him not being circumcised. We are going to go into the yay or nay of circumcision. We get Samantha, who inspires a drag queen.
I love that. I love it
Get
so
to see
much.
that go down. Miranda gets a 2 a.m. call and witnesses a rare lunar event. So we shall see what is going on with that. And then Carrie commits an act of domestic violence, leading to Mr. Big having a black eye.
You know, it's so funny that you like typed that up, is that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
You know what? I'm nominating Carrie Bradshaw.
You what?
I said I'm nominating Carrie Bradshaw.
It's so funny. I literally made it's not it's not funny.
It's not funny.
Domestic violence isn't funny. But okay, the situation is I just made a joke about it. I'm a victim. I get to talk about it. Okay? That's how it works. Come on. Oh, come on. I get to rightfully make jokes and talk about it.
Oh my goodness. But we're going to get down to it because it happens. I guess people don't usually talk about that part of the show, but Carrie does lay her hands on Mr. Big. But we will get into that. So, officially, we start this episode off in a montage of Carrie and Mr. Big walking. The whole idea that we're going into at the start of this episode is Mr. Big is still seeing other women. So even though Carrie and Mr. Big have entered into a relationship together, believe 1 or 2 episodes ago we established that they have officially been together for a year. Because of the toothbrush head that she was so proud to receive. He openly checks out women in front of her, which is
that she's
interesting.
just, you know what's weird is she's just now noticing it, or has he, or has he not been doing it thus far and just started doing it a year in because he's getting bored?
Oh snap! Because that's what he does. That's how he lost his first wife. He cheated on her. Oh my goodness. So, oh, and another thing, all of these women that are in the montage of like him checking them out, They all have a similar kind of pattern going.
Vibe.
Yeah, they're all very beautiful, very tall and slender brunettes.
Yeah. So the
Specifically.
opposite of our Miss Carrie Bradshaw, if you didn't know, I just realized we don't talk a whole lot about like their appearances when we talk about them. If
Um,
you don't watch the show at all, Carrie's short. She's very short, very petite, but has beautiful body, abs, nice tits, this beautiful long curly blonde hair. And that's just like that's her vibe, and she's a little more quirky in her style. So yeah,
yeah,
very much so.
I would say out of the four of them, she's the most fashionably adventurous and doesn't
100%.
seem to like the rest of them have a more cohesive aesthetic throughout the series. Carrie goes up and down, left and right within an episode, so she's very creative
Yeah.
in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she's watching him check out all these women in front of her. And, I feel like a modern day equivalent to this, because, like, obviously that happens in real life, but, like, it reminds me of what it feels like when you're dating somebody and you see them liking other people, like other women's, like, social media posts and stuff. It's like you're seeing, like, a visual representation of that. And that's really freaky. Like,
That's really
yeah.
so if you're in a relationship and you do that, and if you're fine with it, if you guys discuss that, that's great. That's your boundaries, right? If you don't, like, if you find that and you're not okay with that, that's not fucking cool. And just like in general too, it's hard because you're essentially whoever on whatever party is doing this, right? You're essentially putting out into the public eye. You're like, oh, hey, I'd fuck this person that's not my partner. And I, not cool. Not cool. If you're in if you're in something committed, definitely not cool. I don't know. I've heard back and forth. Some people in relationships don't care. Personally, like models to me, like models, like celebrities, that's a what's it called? That's a pass. That's a pass. Like hot OnlyFans bitches pass because it's profit. It's business. But any like for me, if the person lives in the vicinity of where you are and you're like liking and commenting on shit in the vicinity, it's like you're giving someone who's within 30 like a 30-mile radius of you like interest, and you're saying, "Oh, hey, what's up?" Like that's crazy. That's crazy. And it happens so much. It's never really happened to me before. But it's definitely an interesting dynamic when people experience that. I can't
Because the whole idea of, being within a relationship with somebody, if, you've had the discussion of like exclusivity, especially, you know,
yeah.
having moments like that, you know, I don't know if that's necessarily cheating, but I do think it's knocking on the door of it at the very least.
You're
It's like
right.
pointing in that
So
direction. And I mean, you can always say like it's innocent, like I just, liked it or whatever, but like, certain things, I don't know. But
yeah, well, we just finished talking about, we just did the cheating episode, right? And we
yeah.
kind of said, hey, cheating's probably defined within the relationship of the two parties. It's like, hey, what are your boundaries? Do I see this as cheating, or do I see this as like a possible transition into like actually being like actual like infidelity here?
Yeah.
Because I've seen married men like shit on Instagram, but like they're from all that I can see, they're faithful to their wives. They're just like liking fucking like Sports Illustrated models. And like I get that. Again, whoever you are, however you identify, of course we're like primal. We're going to be attracted to people sexually, and blah blah blah. I get that. But when it's like I don't know, when it's barking on like real people, I'm like, I was like, what is that? How am I supposed to feel? How am I supposed to feel if you're like liking and commenting on other bitches? Not like, okay, they're not bitches, women. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone, but like other women's pictures, you're like, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me.
But it's like, should you be upset about that? I think that's up to the person who is on the
Yes,
receiving end.
100%. Yeah, like that's a conversation for you to have in your
With
partnership.
yeah. Um, but Samantha tells Carrie that if this is her biggest problem, him checking out other women in front of her, then she should consider herself lucky. That is the
That
biggest
is,
problem that she
I
has.
mean, she's not essentially off in the sense of like, it's not like he's actually cheating,
Yeah.
right? Or like, there could be so, but then it's that piss poor shitty cycle you get put in. It's like, well, it's bad, but it's not that bad,
Yeah,
and you never
because
you never want to be there either.
no, and Samantha even goes on to say, like, checking out other women is part of the genetic code of men, like farting. Um, she says that.
Ew.
I know.
Ew.
And then she also says, once you try to change a man, it's doomed. They won't budge an inch.
I agree so much with that statement. It's something that it's like ingrained in my brain somewhere. It's just like you can't change someone because I'm like I'm the type. I'm like you can't change my morals and views. Like why would I want to do that for anyone else? Like and within reason, right? But like unfortunately, and this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking for anyone here. I don't think men who especially are like that, like sexually driven, I don't think you can change behaviors like that with them. I don't. I think that that's so, and then it with women too, because like I mean, there's certain women that are like, hey, I got to get mine, just like men say, hey, I got to get mine too, at whatever it takes. Like I think, but especially with men, like especially because like they have the societal push on it too. It's like it's almost been expected of them for the past years and years and years is to be that being uh
A
being that
player.
way, yeah, is very accepted or like seen as like better, like, oh, he can get whoever,
Um,
and
Although
and
I do feel like the tides are turning a little bit,
a
especially with
little,
phrasing like man whore. Like things like that where they kind of like demonize it a little bit.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, Carrie, she kind of pushes back on Samantha and she's like, I believe in the art of subtly manipulating. She says that she's not asking for perfection. She just wants to make some slight alterations, which is
I
like,
mean, well, okay, because in a partnership, right? I mean, there is compromise. There is compromise and there is boundaries. So, you know, there that's that. Like if you bring up the conversation of like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this. How are we gonna go forward?
that's,
That's
yeah,
just your boundary.
yeah, which is good. Um, but I feel like what she's getting at here is like you can make small changes to a person, like because she
Yeah.
literally uses the word manipulating, you know. Um, and
Yeah.
Samantha, I like the way they put this. She says, "Be careful because if you pull the wrong thread, everything falls apart."
Yes, I remember when I was rewatching this. Yeah, I saw that because I mean, the second you go too deep on someone, like I feel like men put up with a lot or passively kind of put up with things to keep a woman in their life
I mean,
just
it works
cuz.
both ways, dude.
Right.
Yeah,
Both ways. And like they'll give the pacifier. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." But then I feel this is just me. I was just
pacifier.
talking about like I also feel like if you bring something like this up, you are also subject to your partner becoming more sneaky. And that's something, but that is
Oh,
a
oh,
trauma response too
yeah.
on my end, but it's also not, that's also very real. And I've heard this. I actually just recently talked to men about this. I was like asking like guy advice. And I was like, well, what's going on here? And they're like, hey, you can never like ask a guy to like change. Like they've said, like, out of men's mouth, they're like, it's not gonna work. They're
Yeah.
like, it's just like that's
No, because
that's
he has to want to. And it's like with anybody,
yeah.
anything, you can't want something for someone more than they want it themselves. It just won't work.
Yeah, and that's with anything. That's with
Yeah.
anything.
Oh yeah. But honestly, I love that Samantha's being real with her. She's like, I don't know, man, like that. I wouldn't, I wouldn't do it. But do you? But, yeah, no. We have the next scene
Yeah.
come in, and we have Miranda and Steve at Miranda's apartment in the middle of the night, and we saw the beginning of the relationship happen, the whole "I believe" thing, kissing in the rain, and now their relationship is actually playing out. So Miranda's a lawyer, a very successful lawyer in New York, and so she has not just like a 9 to 5. She probably has like a 9 to 6, 7, 8. I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
that easily
Oh
works
yeah.
like 50, 60 hour work weeks. And then we have Steve, who is a bartender. And I
Right.
think at one point they mentioned that he goes into work at like 6 or 7 p.m., you
Right.
know, and gets off between like 2, 3 in the morning.
Right.
Um, they're at completely opposite schedules.
Opposite. Complete.
Like when she's getting off of work, he's going into work and vice versa. I've done this before. That shit sucks. There is
Mm-hmm.
nothing less motivating than getting ready for work when the person you love is on their way home. That shit sucks. But yeah, no, we see Miranda waking up in the middle of the night. She's like half awake. She's still in her work clothes. And she stumbles to the door. She bangs her foot. She's so tired. She didn't even see the table that is in the place she lives in.
Yeah.
Um, and they go to the couch. He rubs her foot for her because it hurts, and he just starts talking about his night and saying how they were supposed to close at 2 in the morning. But then a group of people came in after that, and then they had to make all these drinks for them. Somebody got sick, they had to clean it up, and then they closed. So I'm thinking that he didn't get home until like what, four
which
in the
is
morning?
which is yeah, because thing too I thought of is like, okay, well, bars in New York are actually open later than in Texas. So like here in Texas, but the law is that bars have to close at 2,
Yeah,
that have liquor licenses. Other places can get around that by being BYOB, but anyway, just
cool.
FYI. But a lot of like I believe New York bars are open till like 5, 6 in the morning. Like there's certain laws that are like,
Jesus.
yeah, so, or at least like a couple of years back I had a friend who went, and they were like, oh yeah, the bar didn't close till like 6. But places like that, because like New Orleans is the same way. They're like, something, they'll close for like an hour or two to like clean up a bit and then get right back to it, right?
Nice.
uh right, Vegas too, right? What
That's
happened? It's crazy. So but yeah, New York is a later place too, so it's very possible like it's even later, like
Yeah. Oh my
so.
God, like 5 or 6. Yeah, and
Right.
this lady like gets up at 7 in the morning to get up to go to work
Earlier. I'm
and
sure she
do
gets
her
up
medicine.
earlier.
Well, they said that in the morning her alarm went off at 7.
Oh, it's 7. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
actually not that bad for like travel and stuff in New York.
yeah, that's true. But
Yeah,
she lives in Manhattan, and I'm assuming
that's
we're
true.
in Manhattan.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
but yeah, no, she wakes up and it get to her alarm, turns it off, gets out of bed, starts to walk to the restroom already, and Steve is like he initiates sex, and he like doesn't let her get out of bed and initiate sex, and she's like, no, I have to go to work,
Yeah.
and Carrie in her little monologue thing mentions even that the only thing that Miranda likes inside of her in the morning is her takeout coffee. That's it. That's what she wants inside of her. That's it. And
Dude, why? I mean, okay, if I was like waiting up all night and like no, no, even exhausted, I'd still want it. It is the better. We talk about that. Remember one of the episodes? It's like, oh, it's like that's my pick me up. It's like, oh, I just wanted like strong cup of coffee. I'm just like, no. I will. That will always be on the table, unless I'm like gonna be like an hour late to work. Then like it was off. It's off the table.
I mean, she probably is, like,
Yeah, that's true.
you know? Um, because yeah, he says not yet, and then she rolls her eyes and then gives in. Um, and yeah, no. So if you think about it, like not only is she losing sleep over this guy, but she's also getting to work late. That's not the healthiest.
That happened to me in my domestic violence relationship because
Uh,
it's October.
Stop saying that while laughing.
I'm a comedian. All right? I
Okay.
can't. I guess some people would cry. Bitch, I laugh. I hope to make you laugh if you're in the same position as me. If not, I'm sorry. I hope one day you get to a position where you can laugh about what happened to you.
Or just heal. Whatever you need.
Laughter is the best form of medicine.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not over here trying to be like, it's going to be hee hee ha ha, but it's
Yeah.
like you can get you can get to a point where you're like, this was so ridiculous, but I went through it. We can laugh about this now because it was a portion of my life and now it's not.
Yeah.
I'm powerful. I can laugh without any repercussions. And I think that's why I can laugh. I can laugh in the face of someone who I was scared to before. So there's power in laughter. I promise you.
I like that. There's power in
Yeah,
laughing.
absolutely.
I love that. Man. I'm sorry. I
It's
was like,
October.
happy October. Oh, ready for Halloween also.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, okay, wait, hold up. We're just gonna like do a little planning. If you guys are listening, hi. Let me see when the week of October is. That's 2 weeks from now. So the episode should come out about 2 days before Halloween. That's episode 10, 11. I don't know what episode 11 is. But that's gonna be exciting. We're gonna what should we dress up as, guys? If there's any requests for us to dress up for Halloween, I think we're both open to it. Maybe see what's going on. What
Yeah,
if we dress up as the girls?
that'd be fun.
You should get spray. You should spray your hair blonde.
Can you do that?
Yeah, they have like spray. Like you can go blonde and put some blonde
What?
in your hair.
I
Yeah, absolutely.
am I gonna have to go to Sally's for that?
Yeah, like at Sally's, or you can just get a wig. You can get a wig, but you naturally have curly hair, So, but that might be fun, or I don't know. But if you guys have suggestions, if you want us to dress up for a Halloween episode in 2 weeks, maybe we can swing that together. So, if not, I'm sure we're gonna be like spooky bitches, just like oh yeah, I have fangs. So if even if I'm playing Samantha, I'm gonna be vampire Samantha. So I gotta have my fangs in for. I gotta have my fangs in.
That would be a really funny impression to make.
That would be a good TikTok.
Oh
We're
my god.
planning. We're planning with you guys. We're having a good time. Let's keep going.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so next scene, Charlotte. We meet Charlotte and the guy she's seeing currently. His name is Mike, and he's a somewhat famous food critic. Um, and they've been seeing each other long enough that we enter this scene with Charlotte being the one initiating, saying, "Let's make love." Um, and she's so cute. She's like, you never
Oh,
really see her being forward like that, which is, I think it's really good for her. But so she unveils his dick and finds out,
unveils.
yeah, like okay, unzips, releases.
Yeah. Oh,
And he's not circumcised.
all
And
right.
she's taken aback by this, and she's she kind of looks horrified a little bit, not gonna lie. She's never encountered one, and he asks if it's okay, and she's like, "No, sure, of course it is." It's like, and then one of my favorite lines of the freaking show, like, they mentioned that the only uncut thing she'd ever seen was the original version of Gone with the Wind. And like we immediately pan over to the next scene, and it's the four broads at lunch, I mean brunch, talking about foreskin. Like that's the conversation at the hour.
Sometimes the writing on this show
I
is
know, it's so
just
good.
impeccable.
It really is. And she's like telling her friends, it was so much skin, it was like a Shar. Have you ever seen a Shar?
Yes, I love
Like,
Sharpays.
if you are listening and have
They're
not seen one, please look it up. This dog is so
hold
wrinkly,
on.
it can't
I'm
even
gonna
freaking see sometimes. Like, it's
they're
so ugly.
wrinkly. No, they're not ugly. What's wrong with you?
Like, cute ugly.
I you like pugs.
Yeah, like pugs. It's cute ugly.
I love
Cute.
Sharpays. Okay, here is a little baby Sharpay. Well, it's not a baby, but this is what a Sharpay looks like. Aren't they cute? They have curly tail. Hold on, there's another. Oh,
They have
here's the
sleep tails.
cute.
Like, that's, oh my god. She
The
compared
cute.
that.
Huh?
She compared his dick to that. That's what she
Look
said
at
a
the
little
puppies.
ago.
Look at the puppies.
And
Dude, I
they
fucking
also
love dogs.
they also are talking about how they feel. Oh my god. Oh my god. No, let me take a step back. Carrie straight up asks her, "So you've never seen an uncircumcised one?" And Charlotte, all she says, "I'm from Connecticut."
I forget all her little lines. Oh god.
And she just goes on to say, "Aesthetics are important to me." With
This is such a bizarre.
and like, yeah, before this episode, I never really thought about that. Like, it's never really occurred to me, you know?
Yeah, no, actually, funny enough, funny you mentioned that. I wasn't, well, whatever. I was like, I wasn't on this podcast. I kind of was. So Alonso's podcast, Bad First Impressions, he does a live podcast. I did makeup for him and the guys a couple weeks back. And they were talking about it. They were talking about like cut v uncut. And then they were like, I'm sitting right there, right? Like watching them. And they're like, whoa, 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 wait. They're like, hold on, we have tiebreaker here, right? And I was all like, hee hee, time to shine, bitches. And they're like, yeah, give Bella the mic. And then so like we're asking and talking about it. And they're like, so is there a difference? Is there a difference between someone who's been circumcised and not? And this is my experience only. I only can speak for myself. I never really noticed a difference. Like and technically I don't know. I mean, I don't have the parts. But apparently if you're not circumcised, you have more nerve endings, and your sex is supposed to be more enjoyable. That's why there's this whole big like a lot of people nowadays like don't want to circumcise their children because they're like, well, what the fuck? I didn't have a choice, and like it just was kind of thrown upon me, or for obviously for religious reasons, But me as a woman having sex with someone like cut v uncut, like I haven't noticed a difference. It never bothered me. It never like changed anything. It was just kind of, and it was never like unsightly either. It was just kind of like, this is what you got. Because then how rude would that be too? Because it's like, it's almost like the whole, I'm just going to compare it because it's kind of similar, but not like the whole labia thing. Some people do the whole NEV outie thing. And I'm like, look, and we were born like this, but like, but in certain countries and cultures, there's female like circumcision and mutilization too, where that happens also, and that's out of their control and consent also, or it's things happen, and I don't think you should be fucking judged on your genitals.
Yeah, it's pretty
Because
rough, honestly.
at the end
The
of the day, like at the end of the day, as someone who's technically pan or whatever the fuck, I don't give a shit what you got going down there or up there. I'm working with it.
I feel that. Oh
That's
my gosh.
that's it. That is it. I want a body. I want your if I'm into you, I want your body. I want you head to toe and literally toes because I like feet. I do. I do.
I know you
But I know you do. There's something so hot about feet, dude. I don't know. It's getting worse as I get older.
words.
It's not like I want to touch them. I don't want to like lick them, but like I love touching feet.
I feel that. Well, no, not
Especially
not that part. The not licking them thing. Have you ever seen a freaking video where they're like, you're like into it, and then suddenly somebody starts licking feet, and you're like, turn it off?
No, never. I love that.
No. Okay.
I don't personally want to look like lick someone's foot, but to me absolutely that's a minimum. And
So
okay, I'm more prone. Okay, take a step back because I was like, actually, at the end of the day, I have kissed men's feet, but I've also kissed women's feet. So I'm like, well, but I'm more prone to having a woman's foot in my mouth because I think cleanliness. But I appreciate, and I tell people this. There is something about a man's like foot, like the tendons in their feet, that drives me wild. The tendons of the top of
tendons, because like you like it.
I'm very like I like hands. I'm just like a little fucking gremlin ghoul. I'm just like, give me your fucking hands.
That's okay. It's October.
This isn't just October. This is year round, baby.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, Charlotte is just like, it's not normal. She says that. And I think that's me.
Charlotte, fuck
Because
her.
men are literally born like that. It is
Yeah.
literally normal. And even Carrie, usually Miss Judgmental comes in and she's like, something like 85% aren't circumcised.
Yeah.
And so I actually went and dug a little bit. So I went to the website for the National Institute of Health, and
Hell yeah.
yeah, I wanted to see. So it says that globally, 37 to 39% of men or people with a penis are circumcised.
That's
Uh,
it?
yeah, and
That's the less than the majority.
yeah,
It's less than half.
yeah. And then in the United States, up to 80% of people with a penis are circumcised.
Oh, I mean,
So
see, like
that's
there's
why we tend to feel like it's like everyone, but in reality, it's really not.
very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But yeah, I guess like here, yeah, in the States, like it's
And
more the
obviously, it's
norm.
within the culture to be circumcised.
Because yeah, because like, well, I can't count how many men I've been with just people, but like I've only experienced two, like just statistic, like two, and I'm like that two out of like, never mind. But
That's okay.
yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't need to know the exact number.
But it reminds me of this episode of Broad City. There was this scene where the guy was talking about how he was gonna get circumcised, and he was talking to this other man who was circumcised at birth, and was talking about his orgasms, and was going off saying how, I don't remember exactly, but he was like, it's like a million waterfalls shooting over you, and you're like riding on the back of a dolphin through a rainbow, basically. When he has an orgasm. And then the guy who was circumcised at birth is like, it feels like when I dunk a basketball in one of those little pool basketball hoops and I get it on the first try. Like that's what he compared the orgasm to. So like it gets in that
Interesting.
conversation. It makes a huge difference having that skin there versus
Right.
not, you know? So interesting. I think maybe if I had a kid, I probably wouldn't do it myself.
I thought about that. I thought about that. Like, if I ever were to have children, is what my view would be on that. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not there. I feel like when if that's the case, I'll think about it when I get there. Because I'm just like, yeah, essentially, it is just aesthetics because
Yeah.
there is no scientific proof that it keeps. Because the whole thing was like, oh, it's supposed to be like a cleanliness thing, but come on, I mean, it's hygiene. Women have folds and stuff too, and you can clean them. It's like any part of the body, and so I don't know. Theoretically, yeah.
Well, if y'all want to tell us what you think about circumcision, yay, nay, just
Yeah.
would you do it to your kid? Have you done it to your kid? Do you regret it?
Yeah, that's views and opinions are appreciated always.
Hell yeah. Okay, enough about foreskin. Next week, we have Carrie and Mr. Big at a restaurant. So they're at a nice restaurant together on a date. She even goes as far as to say they were out celebrating absolutely nothing. They're just enjoying each other's company. And while in the restaurant, Mr. Big lights a cigar. And the waitress comes and tells him, "You can't smoke inside, sir."
I love this scene.
And he is so condescending. He's like, "Are you absolutely sure about that? Because I checked the zoning for this table and it's in a cigar friendly zone." And she says, "I don't
He's being
mind, but
flirty.
it's for the other patrons." So this man gets out of his chair with his cigar still lit and goes to the other tables, and he starts with a group of ladies, flirts with them, goes to the other table, tells everybody, "I'm gonna buy you all a round of drinks." So they start clapping for him. And so he's like, "Well, I guess it's not a problem that I smoke my
It's
cigar."
way more charismatic. Way more charismatic though.
Okay,
He
you
goes
go
up.
off.
He's like, "That's my parole officer over there." He's like, "I'm on death row." He says something like that. "It's my last day to live. Would you ever so mind if I smoke this?" And blah blah blah. And he's like, "And then let me start this off by saying I'm gonna buy everyone a round of drinks." There's like 8 people in the restaurant, and they're all scattered. So Carrie is so deeply like mortified right now. She's like super visually uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Big's just having the time of his life. And then they cheer. Yeah, oh my god, everyone's like hee hee ha ha. And he comes back to the table, and obviously the waitress is like,
whatever.
whatever. Okay, cool. Personally, I thought that was hot.
Personally, I would have gotten up and left.
What?
Yeah,
Dude,
that shit would have pissed me off. Oh my god.
dude,
But I mean,
how? How?
it's
How?
for
How?
it's a huge fucking ick when I see the guy or person that I'm on a date with being rude to the service worker.
That's not being rude. He was being charismatic.
She tried to speak up and he's hold on. Like,
Look,
no, look.
if the man I'm with can charm the pants off of fucking everyone, that's hot. That's
You know
hot.
what? Is it that, or is it that he was able to buy a round of drinks for everybody at a bar in New York without
Both.
even asking how much?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. Both.
Oh my gosh.
I personally love when a man can pull off arrogance.
That's an interesting take. Pull off arrogance.
Yeah, so there's one thing. Okay, I will always say this. There's being an asshole and there's being arrogant. There's a subtle difference because arrogance has you have to be the certain confidence of arrogance is usually people who are arrogant can back it.
Okay.
Being an asshole is being an asshole.
What do
People
you
who just
back
want to
it?
be like huh?
What do you back it with?
I don't know, like character. There's
Character?
something
Yeah.
behind, you still got something behind it. I feel like to be arrogant, you have to be intelligent. And I think that's where my
Oh,
brain lies.
I
To be
see.
an any idiot, Any idiot.
Any idiot can be an asshole.
Any idiot can be an asshole.
We need that on a t-shirt.
That should be on. Okay, side note, I'm still trying to work on shirts and I keep fucking forgetting. But how funny would that be is like one of our new catchphrases.
I would not mind.
You guys talked about Sex in the City. Why does your shirt say any idiot can be an asshole?
Listen and you'll find out. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, Vic gets back to the table after everybody's clapping for him. And the waitress walks away. She's like, fuck this. um, yeah, Carrie tells him, no one's gonna tell you to your face that they hate your cigar. And he's like, good. That's like the only thing he says back to that. And she
Yeah.
says, you are very arrogant. And this is like one of the first times I feel like I've heard her really like,
Be honest with him.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of disgusted a little bit.
Yeah.
He was
No,
not happy
truthfully.
about it. Um, and he says, I thought that's what you liked about me.
Exact. He knows. He knows. Big is more self-aware than we know.
Mm-hmm. So after dinner, they're walking home. I feel like this is a really incredible point to be made. Carrie wonders if they were at the inevitable point in the relationship when all of those little things that you loved about a person become huge liabilities.
Ooh,
I feel
yeah.
like that is an extremely insightful thing because, in her case specifically, part of his charm probably was the arrogance and not just, the way that you were describing it, the arrogance being the intelligence and the financial backing of his actions and the confidence, you
Okay,
know?
here's the weird part about this scenario, though.
Okay.
This is a year in. You can
Yes.
typically start to see behavior from a man that you don't really particularly like fairly quickly. Especially when you're out in New York, like especially when you're out getting drinks. You get when you see a man socialize is when you can like see what's kind of going on and see how they interact and blah blah blah. To like just start it. But here's what I said earlier. We're a year in. She's noticing these behaviors. It might not be that he was always like this. He might be changing because he might be getting comfortable and or bored or he doesn't care.
Interesting on the boredom thing for sure.
Dude,
Uh,
I will say this because I feel like I'm the fucking not victim, but like I feel like I feel like men
sorry.
I feel
I
like men get bored of me. I feel like they initially are like, oh, well, oh my God, this is great. You're so funny and blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, oh, you're a real person. You know?
So do you think it has anything to do with falling for the fantasy of a person rather than the person that they are?
Yeah. I feel like you can build up kind of this ideal. I feel like anyone can put someone on a pedestal and then once they start seeing them get knocked off is when it happens. And I feel like men might do that more initially because they're like, oh, like usually it's like appearance first with men, and then they start to see your qualities and then they either like it or they don't. So,
I can see that. Well, speaking of liking it or not liking it, um, as Carrie's having these thoughts in her head, um, a huge liability walks by. There's this woman, and mind you, her outfit is pretty killer. She's in this like gigantic trench coat of like black leather, shiny
yeah.
black leather, with these really cool like fishnetty like stockings on. I thought it was
Yeah.
cool.
Sick
And
outfit.
so he literally turns around to look at her as she's like walking away. And Carrie is so upset. This is her final straw. She grabs his face from looking at her and makes him look at herself. That I feel like is the most physically aggressive she's ever been with him. Like, also,
Yeah.
like that kind of like,
From what we've seen.
yeah. I feel like that definitely like jumped for a bit. And he's stunned. He's like, "What?" Like, like I guess realize like I don't know. Uh, I and honestly, I'm not gonna lie though. If I was him, I would also have a similar reaction if my date just like grabbed my face like that. Cause like I don't know, I don't know. But
I just got sent a really hot picture, so I'm just turned on at the thought of any kind of touch right now.
I'm so happy for you. Oh my gosh.
But they know I told them.
But yeah, no, he's like, "What?" And then she just pauses and she's like, "I hate that cigar." And so he literally just chucks it.
Dude, she bitched out though.
Yeah, she did.
Honestly, same. I'm
Not same. I would have.
having a hard time. I'm having a hard time sometimes saying things that I don't like.
Nah, dude, I'm definitely that bitch in a relationship. But I squash it right then and there. We don't have to worry about it later.
Props.
Um, but okay, so here's where I think this part gets interesting, right? So he throws it on the ground and he says, "And you told me to my face."
Yeah, because he's like, he's
He,
referencing back to that conversation they just had at the
yeah,
restaurant.
and I'm sure referencing all the times that she just like pretends like nothing's wrong, and obviously she's not a good liar. Like, well, honestly, actually, she kind of is, but we'll get to that later. Um, yeah, no, yeah. So she gives him this like long, hard look when he says that, but doesn't say anything, and he just walks away. And I guess they're just over it now for now. And then at home, Carrie is on her laptop writing about change and how New York City is a place where change comes really easily, you know. And but if change is so easy, why was it so hard for Big? Uh, yeah. And then okay, I'm gonna pause and mention that I feel like there's a few points in this show where Carrie is like just on the other side of a door of being self-aware and doesn't go through the door.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like she brings up these things and then doesn't do anything with them. So she says, "Was I banging my head against the wall thinking I could get him to stop and notice me? Did I have to change my expectations? Or is it possible? Can you change a man?"
This is really hard because I honestly, as much as I shit talked Carrie for so long, I find myself being in a lot of positions the way she is now. And that's just me being honest and vulnerable. Because when you like, and this is what I said, I was like, look, I can't really judge this bitch. Because when you like someone, sometimes that shit flies out the fucking door and all of your rationale goes out.
Well,
And
it's
it's
the
because you
rose
don't.
glasses, right? They make all
Right.
the red
Well,
flags look the same color.
not, it's not so much that. I think somewhere in this writing, there has to be this like, Carrie's obviously anxiously attached to this person for whatever reason, meaning Carrie's got some trauma that we don't really have a backstory to. That's one thing too. The girls don't have backstories. They don't really, they kind of divulge, oh, when I was a kid, little things, but they don't have a backstory of like before New York, really.
No.
And so we don't know what went on in their childhood and their adolescence and whatever in their 20s really too. So there's obviously some trauma. Me in my late 20s, I'm like, all of my trauma fucking caught up to me, and now I'm like, oh, I'm in the world now, and so it's hard, and I get it. And so I think maybe there's some abandonment issues. Okay, side note here too, because it's not like canon with the show, but and I know you haven't watched it, but I have. There is a spinoff called The Carrie Diaries on the CW. And it's pretty it's pretty close to the show, kind of, but it gives us like a prequel to Carrie, and with that, there's a lot of trauma with Carrie's character. And so I'm almost wondering if like it's kind of along the lines, and that's why maybe her behavior is a little bit more like explicable, like, you know. But
Yeah.
when I see her go through stuff like this, I put myself in her shoes, and I'm like, oh, this is screaming anxious attachment, this is screaming trauma, this is screaming abandonment issues, because or just insecurity because of something too. Sometimes your insecurities will lead you to like, you're like, I like someone and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it work.
Yeah.
Even though you're sacrificing yourself sometimes in the process, and that's not okay, and we all know that, and we've talked about that too. But I can see why the continued behaviors happen, the bitching out, the like bringing, like, she's obviously self-aware, she's obviously bringing it up, but like the then bitching out in the process too, because it's like, I'm stuck in my trauma and what I know is best for me too, and
Yeah.
that's hard. So it's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this next scene is honestly really funny. So Carrie asks the question, can you change a man? And we do the interview styles again. Um, so we're interviewing random people in New York City, and the question is, can you change a man? So the first lady, little Miss Lataxica, she's so funny. I love her. She's like, my husband used to be obsessed with watching sports 24/7. Then I started fooling around with his best friends. Now he's obsessed with watching me. This shit cracks me up. Some people.
Wait, hold up.
What?
So, oh wait, this is what I got from this was that she's now cucking her husband with his best friend.
And it worked.
Bro, and it
That's what she's saying. That he doesn't watch sports anymore. He watches her.
dog. That is a level of power of a woman, and not power, just I don't know what that is. I mean, kudos if it works for you. Holy God, dude.
I know.
I can't even imagine. First, I'm like, I can't even like no.
And then we have the second guy. It's some dude in a suit, and he's saying, every girlfriend I've had wanted me to change something. Change your job, change your face, change your attitude. But all I ever change is girlfriends.
That's so fair though. That's so fair though, because I feel like a lot of women go into things with the idea that they can change or like shape or,
Subtly manipulate.
subtly manipulate their partner into I feel like women, I think we've kind of talked about this before, like we see the potential of men and we want to make them see that full potential.
Okay.
And
Man, woman, they or them, in between, whatever you are.
yes,
Don't go for somebody for the potential. Please. Like, appreciate what they are, not what they can be.
his potential for the past decade, and it got me nowhere. It got me nowhere, but a budding stand-up career.
Well, there you go.
It got me enough trauma to be able to be funny.
I don't know, you've always been funny. I guess you're funnier now, right?
I'm funnier to a crowd. I never thought I'd be like, I always thought I was situationally funny. I'm like, oh, I can make people laugh at work. Hee hee, blah. But then I was just like, it's so different on stage. And I will, I'm like, just because you're the class clown or like the work clown, You got potential. You got potential there, but stand up is another devil, dude.
It really is.
I still fight that fight every day I go on stage.
Oh, and then the next scene, we see an older woman and her husband, and she turns to look at him, and he is spinning plates on sticks.
I love this one.
And he's so happily doing it. And she just looks back at the camera and says, no, like, you can't change a man. I thought that
She
was
just goes, no.
no.
Here's my weird husband, his little tricks.
I feel that. Like my husband baby talks bugs. Like, you know,
That's cute.
it is cute. So then we have next scene, Mike is walking Charlotte home after another date. So even though she saw the Sharpay and didn't like it, she still went on another date with him. And he tries to give her a kiss goodnight. She side sweeps and gives him her cheek. And he tells her, like, basically, he acknowledges what's going on and says, I understand if you're uncomfortable, with not being circumcised. Women usually are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really sad. Like, I don't know.
That is really fucking sad.
Yeah, like, to receive rejection based off of how you were literally born with your genitalia like that's not fun. But he's been so uncomfortable for so long, he has decided to get circumcised. So
Which is crazy as an adult man. I mean, I think that's still an option, but like, how? And it's so much different when you're a grown man, not a baby.
And he asks her if she doesn't mind waiting for him, while he heals and stuff. She's like, no,
honestly, so sad. This is honestly so sad, dude.
Yeah. Because I do feel like if the role was reversed, it wouldn't be funny.
Dude, yeah. Okay, hold on. Let's be 100% real. Let's say a man fucking took my fucking pants off and was all like, "You're an outie?" No. I am, by the way. I'm not gonna be fucking discreet on this, like, because I'm tired of that shit. It's like, yeah, that's what I got going on here. Okay, it helps with grip. I've never left a man disappointed. That's all I'm gonna say.
There you go.
Or woman.
But yeah,
this podcast is sponsored by My Will to Live.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, this friggin' Charlotte, as she thinks to herself, Samantha was wrong. Some men can budge an inch, or in Mike's case, an inch and a half.
Oh. I don't know. I have such a problem with this. It's just sad.
I think so too.
This is just really sad. Also, it's like, that's so crazy to me. I'm like, do you not want dick right now? Like, if you like this guy?
I mean,
wait, this is a perfect time to talk about this. I just saw a TikTok. I don't remember if I sent it to you, where they think Charlotte's gay. You sent it to me.
Yeah.
You sent it to me. And they're calling it like the whole cishet whatever. Or I don't know what that is. Cis heterosexual? Is that what cishet means?
I think so, yeah.
They were saying, I forgot like what that meant. They were like describing her like, let me see. I'm gonna double check what that meant. But they're like, yeah. Yeah, cishet. They're like, oh, she tries to be like cishet or whatever. And I'm just like, okay. But yeah, they're like, no, Charlotte's like actually might be like a little gay. I don't know.
Really? You don't remember her and her little lesbian thing?
I remember. Okay, we just went through it. I remember the lesbian episode. I remember the threesome episode. I think she might. Okay, here it is.
Got a thing for blonde, for sure.
I think she's bi-curious. I don't think if she actually got, I don't think if she, once she got to the position with being a woman, I don't know if she actually would. I think she's bi curious. Does that make sense?
Here's my thing.
Okay.
I think if she had had access to understanding the dynamics of a lesbian relationship and could identify and see the the happily ever after that she wanted within that,
Mm.
I think she could have.
Hmm.
You got to remember
Okay.
it's the 90s. Marriage isn't even legal for them yet,
Very true.
you know? And
And
I
she's a
don't think,
wasp.
and she's a wasp. She's so used to conforming to these heteronormative ideals. And it also goes back to the whole, I forgot what it was called, but I saw a thing on it the other day where it was talking about when you act heterosexual because you think that's what you should be doing. And I think that's also what they were
Yeah.
getting at too, which is that, first of all, she doesn't like giving head to men. Like, and she adamantly doesn't like,
Yeah.
to the point where she will put her foot down and say, I don't want to do this. And that doesn't make you gay or straight or whatever. That's just one little piece of the pie. Um, but the pie. And so, and then the other episode with the whole threesome action, she picked the woman,
Yep.
and women were flirting with her, not the guy, and she was receiving it. And
Yeah.
then in the the lesbian episode, there was one specific scene um where she talks about, it's I think it's when she's dancing in the crowd, and they're talking about how she went into a world that didn't have any thoughts of men. And did you see how safe and comfortable she felt?
Yeah, it was that whole scene, the whole where she's dancing through like the sapphic hole in the
Yeah,
wall, and it's like the one of the freest times I've ever actually seen Charlotte. Like she's
yeah,
just like dancing, like totally. It's like the only ever time I've seen her like this is when she's dancing in Staten Island, which we'll get to
yeah.
eventually,
So
and she's
she's
all drunk.
there, like blitzed, like
You know,
ridiculously wasted.
and just like not to spoil, but like she gets super drunk and she's like, I'm getting married, I'm getting married, I'm getting married. She never says to a man.
No, she doesn't. And she also looks at, like they said in that other video, she looks at marriage very like, and her relationships very like transactionally. It's very much
Yeah.
what can she get out of it, you know? Not like
Yeah, which
I love
is,
this guy.
well, when you have wealth in your life, you see it that way.
I see. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So that, Charlotte, uh, I don't know. I do think that given access to the culture and like I feel like if she was this age nowadays, I don't think that this conversation would be the same for her. I feel like she had it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to this episode. Um, we have Miranda and Steve in bed on Saturday morning. So they finished making love because obviously they weren't going to make love that night, so they made love in the morning instead. And Miranda gets up to begin her day again. And Steve's like, hey, where are you going? And Miranda's just like, I'm getting up. And Steve's like, oh, come on. It's Saturday. Come on, lay down, slow down, come here. And he pulls her back into the bed and wraps his arm around her so that she can't get up. And she asks, how long are we going to do this? And he's like, you want a time frame for cuddling? She's like, it helps if I have an endpoint in mind. I respond well to limits. And he says, that's your problem. You have too many limits. You have to let go a little, Miranda. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that's really like thrown at her in this episode is like this need for her to let go, slow down, lay down, whatever. I don't know. But Miranda's kind of tries to put her foot down. She's like, Saturday is my free day. So I have spinning, and then I get my dry cleaning, and then I get my nails done, and then I pick up my groceries for the week. And mind you, this sounds like a Saturday for a woman that's working like an office job that can take 50, 60 hours a week.
Absolutely. That's like your time to fucking do your shit,
Yeah, for
you
the week,
know?
you know?
Yeah.
And Steve's just being a dick, in my opinion. You know, he's like, you don't sound very free to me. And, you know, she asks him, do you want to come with me to get my dry cleaning? And he says no. And personally, this is where I fall off with Steve. I could understand the trying to guilt her back into bed, trying let's cuddle, all of this, all of that, whatever. But when she tells him that she needs to do these things for herself and her self-care, and he doesn't want to do them with her, even though he does have the time, I feel like that's when he truly sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just gets back in bed and they cuddle, and she tells him like an hour and a half tops, and she never gets anything that she needed done that day. You know? I think that's upsetting. But yeah. So next scene, we have drag queen bingo with the four broads. And side note, Samantha opens this scene and she's saying N23, N23, I need N23. And so that's a side note. But we have Miranda, and she comes in talking about the situation with her and Steve. And she says, I really like him, but the scheduling is so off. And afterwards, he just wants to lie there with me. And sorry, what's that?
Oh, you're sipping.
No, I got a little cough. But yeah, no, he just wants to lie there with me. She doesn't like that he wants to cuddle afterwards, especially since he won't give her a time limit on that, you know?
That's a little much.
I think so too, and I do think that that's a bit sabotagey, personally,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
agree.
And Charlotte cuts her off and it's like everyone wants a guy who wants to cuddle. And Oakley, and it's like I'm like, okay, clearly not everyone, as Miranda just literally fucking said. And then Carrie, does the Carrie thing. I'm jealous. Big won't even spend the night at my place. And like two things on that. Like, way to go to make it about yourself and not help your friend at all. And two, yeah, you should be upset about that, dude. It's been a fucking year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And Carrie tells Miranda, what you have is real intimacy. And Miranda says, it's bed rest. I had errands to do. I miss spinning. And then I think this is really fucked up. Carrie's like, you don't need to spin if you're having sex. What if
Um,
she just
you know
likes
what's fun?
spins?
You know what's funny about that though?
Well,
With spin, I've said this. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast or I've said, I don't know, whatever. Um, Sometimes with spin, it can almost get orgasmic because when you get off this, like, okay, you're supposed to get off the saddle or like the seat. It's called a saddle and spin. If you don't, well, I don't know. The pressure of being on the saddle sometimes, let's say you don't get off of it during the class and then you get up after 45 minutes. Sometimes there's a little rush. And
okay.
then just the whole endorphins of spinning too is kind of like, it's very I love spin. I love spin.
Okay.
It can get there.
Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like they were really quick to disregard Miranda and what she's saying here. Um, I feel like maybe Steve gives Miranda the type of love that Charlotte and Carrie want for themselves from the men that they're dating. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't think that I do think that like I just feel like they kind of usher her towards Steve a lot because of that.
I could see that.
And I do think that there is a level of jealousy there, personally. Not like in an ugly way, but in a like, you should appreciate what you have. Even though Miranda's kind of essentially like, not, I don't know. I do think she's kind of into him. I don't think she's that into him. I don't think that when
Yeah.
you,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I don't know. But um, I don't think that Steve loved Miranda the way that she needed to be loved. But I do think
Yeah.
she stayed because she knew that this is what her friends were looking for. So she thought that maybe she should just appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's just me. And Miranda kind of goes back and she's like, why, like, to the whole schedule issue and asks, like, why do I have to be the one to change my routine?
Yeah.
And Charlotte is like, if you really like the guy, it wouldn't hurt. And also, it wouldn't hurt you to slow down. And here we hear, like, here's again where they're telling her, slow down,
Yeah.
And Carrie's, she backs Miranda up. She's like, Miranda's right. Why is it the woman that always has have to change and never the man? And Charlotte's like, women are more adaptable. It's like,
I mean, like in
equal,
societal sense, yes.
both are equally capable.
Of course.
And if he wanted to, he would.
Yeah.
And Charlotte also does suggest something. She says, what if you made a schedule? I don't think that that's crazy. If
No.
their if their scheduling issue is that bad, I don't think it's crazy for them to have a schedule. But Miranda is just like, oh, how romantic. I'm like, well, obviously what you're doing right now isn't working. So yeah.
Yeah.
And Charlotte's like, if you really believe in this relationship, you should try to make it work.
Yeah. I mean,
Miranda's like, that's really something coming from a woman who's leaving a man over foreskin.
but there's that too.
But yeah, Charlotte's like, actually, we're still dating. He's getting circumcised. And Carrie's like, please tell me we're not invited to the bris.
I love that.
And yeah, so Samantha's in the sidelines of this conversation, just getting frustrated. She really needs N23 to win the bingo game, and she's been trying this entire time, wanting that one to win. She hasn't gotten it, so she asks one of the drag queens for a new card. And as it turns out, underneath the blonde wig is Brad, a hockey player that Samantha had dated several years back. And okay, yeah, they all are terrible to this person, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They all have this horrified look on their face, and you know, the drag queen tells Samantha, like, you look fabulous, Miss Thing, and she's just giving her good vibes. It's like just being nice, and Samantha's like, "Oh, look at you," like in like a flat tone, just like,
Yeah. Like kind of shocked. Yeah.
and asks like, "How long ago did you start doing this?" And they're like, "Right after you." And Samantha just looks so uncomfortable, and she asks about the kids that they had, and Karen Miranda even goes so far as to make a little side joke in front of everyone,
Yeah.
like like that kid has two mommies, which
Which is so fucked
oh,
up.
fucked up
Yeah,
and
this one.
gross. And like
Yeah.
moments like that in the show are the moments that like I worry when I tell somebody to watch this show and they see that. I hope that they don't think that that is a representation of this show in its entirety.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the views at the time, you know.
Yeah, but I do think that they could have been better to people of that community.
Cuz I'm like, okay, here's the thing. They're at a drag brunch.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's almost like as soon as this person isn't just a side character to serve them and is actually a human being with a life and they actually know them, now it's a problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't particularly like this scene. Um, but another drag queen cuts into the conversation and says, there are other people who need their boards here, Samantha. And so it's at this moment you kind of realize that blonde wig looks a lot like Samantha's iconic hairstyle. Like a lot. And
Yeah.
she realizes, and she says, Samantha. And the drag queen Samantha looks at her and is just like obviously trying to get out of there as soon as possible and is like,
Yeah.
imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And like, how would you feel if you went on a date with somebody and a man, I guess, and years later you found out that they were doing drag, and not only that, but they used you as their inspiration of femininity to embody?
I just had this conversation with my other best friend, and we're talking about it. And I was like, I would be nothing but fucking flattered.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
but fucking flattered. First of all, I fucking
Cool.
love drag. Love drag. Love drag. And
Yeah,
like, absolutely. You're telling me, because the cool part is like, drag is like, you get, you get to be this over the top, hyper feminine, like this big character, this like, and then there's this comedic value to like drag, and like it's so beautiful and fun and bold and brilliant. How the fuck would you be offended if like you
seriously.
were the inspo? Like people, like people who do drag, like they take inspiration from like what really like drives them, or like what they want to be, or like for whatever, right? And like, and make it funny or not make it funny, and like I absolutely, absolutely. I hope someone does.
And yeah, it's like I do appreciate the presence of drag queens within this episode and the show. I'm glad they got airtime. I just wish that
Yeah.
they'd been nicer, personally. But a little bit of karma hits Samantha at the end of this because after she switches her board, N23 gets called. Somebody else wins.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that. That's amazing.
So somebody else wins after she was a bitch. So, I love Samantha, but not when she's doing shit like that.
Yeah.
Next scene, we have Carrie who meets Mr. Big at his apartment. So after the brunch bingo, I'm sorry, the drag queen bingo, Carrie goes to meet Mr. Big at his apartment, and he's a half an hour late. And they begin arguing about it in the lobby. Carrie's literally like, "Your doorman thinks I'm a hooker." And Mr. Big's like, "Did you make any money?"
He's just making a joke.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, no, Carrie uses this argument as the moment, I guess, that she felt necessary to suggest Mr. Big giving her a key.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, what? You choose an argument to like she even goes so far as to stomp her foot and say, "I'm pissed." Like stomping her foot. And then after that she's gonna ask for a key. While they're I don't know.
This is
And
where, but here's the funny part of this is where Carrie's becoming like a little unhealthy and toxic, is like she's been holding in all this shit. Now, just like before, remember when she would hold in all that shit and then blow up on him?
yeah, no, seriously. And he doesn't really say anything about the key. He kind of like dodges it a little bit, sidesteps the question. And then she suggests that he stays at her place at some point, And then
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, I like my bed."
Honestly, same.
Well, that night at Mr. Big's apartment in his bed, Um, Neither of them wanted to make love that night, which is unusual for them, I guess. I guess they make
Yeah.
love every time they spend the night together. Um, and she's unable to sleep. It's like one of the wee hours of the morning, and she is wondering if this is all I can get out of him. Is this enough for me? And Mr. Big rolls over in his sleep, pushing her off the bed and onto the floor. Granted, that shit probably hurt. Like,
Yeah.
she just fell a couple of feet onto a wooden floor. She's
I was trying
really,
to remember if I've ever like gotten. I've never accidentally like fallen, or no, I think I have fallen off a bed once, but I've definitely gotten pushed off a bed once. Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
yeah,
As we're talking about this right now. I
seriously.
mean, he does this like not purposefully. This is in his sleep,
Oh, he
right?
was asleep. And
Yeah.
he rolled over and knocked her off. And he wakes up because she screams, "Hey!" She hit the floor. I'm sorry, this shit's kind of funny.
It's kind of
Um,
funny.
but she pops up from the floor. She like shoots up and punches him in the face.
Yeah. Out of
No,
like obviously like delirium and stress and anger, but not okay.
because he asks her, "Are you okay?" And she punches him in the eye, saying, "No." So
Yeah.
yeah, and honestly, this is kind of one of my favorite moments from Mr. Big because this is probably the only time in the entire series where he ever raises his voice at her. And it's just like, what the fuck? He like holds his face. And, you would think the first words out of her mouth would be, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. Like, oh
No,
shit, what did I just do?
not even. Her first words, "Oh my God, you knocked me out of bed. You didn't even know I was here."
I feel like that's, you know,
I don't know. And he's just like, "Well, I do now. Why don't you break my arm the next time?"
I like the way he says it.
I do too. And then she says she's sorry. Um, and then he picks up a blanket and a pillow and is like, "I'm going to the couch. Do not follow me. Do not talk to me. It's bad to talk now.
Yeah.
Just leave me alone." And an hour later, she decides, I can't sleep, so he's not going to sleep. And she brings him some ice in a that's wrapped up in a rag and is like, "It's for your face." And they start talking. And here's another thing that kind of like stood out to me about this. She tells him, "Okay, I know I've lost a little bit of my power here." What power? And I'm pretty sure that most women's magazines would say that what I just did was a very bad idea. I feel like she's taking no ownership for what she just did.
Yeah.
Uh, and I guess this is the embarrassment of this or whatever is what she needed because she
Yeah.
finally opens up to him about what's been upsetting her. And she tells him, "I hate that you look at other women. I hate that I don't have a key to your place. You've never spent the night at my place. You can't even make space for me in your own bed." That's heavy.
Yeah. And this is a year in.
Yeah, a
I
little bit
keep
more
like
than a year.
referencing back to that. Like I'm struggling, I'm just being honest. Like I'm struggling with shit going on in my life. And I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to talk about all this shit? And it's only been a little bit. But I'm like, damn, a year in and you're just kind of pushing this shit.
Yeah. But it's like, what timeline does make sense?
That's
You know,
true. That is true.
it just depends.
Yeah.
She does acknowledge her place in this though. She says, "But it's not your fault because I never say it, you know? All these things are happening and you keep doing them, but you didn't know because I didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
And now I've punched you, so now I have to say it. so I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
You say you're sorry? No. She says, I feel like I'm back in your life and nothing has really changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you can't change a man, but, and especially not one like you, but I still want something to change a little bit for me. And all he replies is, physical violence is never the answer.
There's also not taking any ownership there too.
No. And he says it like it's a joke. And
Yeah.
she just says, yeah, I'm gonna go. And she walks away, but then she walks back to him and says, look, I'm sure there's things that you don't like about me. And he says, I'm not falling for that one. And we acknowledge, like, that's one thing that you can like about Mr. Big. He knows when to shut up.
Yeah.
And so that's where they leave it for now. Um, mhm. I do think that they're acting really light upon it. I think that's much more serious than they're allowing
Yeah, I
it.
mean, obviously it wasn't like this wasn't out of I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's never okay to like physical violence is never okay, but I do feel like this was kind of like one of those like split like it just fucking happened. Like I fell off a bed, you reacted out of like not survival, but you know what I mean, like an instant
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I got.
Which is why I feel like there's some like light to this scene, but it's like yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know. I just always like to think of like, is this not that bad, or is it not that bad because of the gender roles within it? Like, if you were to reverse it, would it be as bad? You
Yeah,
know,
no, actually,
she
you know
knocked
what's
him out
funny?
of the bed, and he went up and punched her in the face.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah, actually, you're
911
100%
immediately.
true.
You know?
Um, yeah, no, I think about that too. I always forget. So the whole, you know, when domestic violence is spoken about, a lot of the times where people just are thinking men to women, and we forget, you know, it happens to women to men and all in far and in between too. And even what the other day I posted about it because it was October 1st, I think it was 1st, and I posted like the domestic like violence hotline and stuff for people. And it actually took me, and this was funny because I actually thought about, not funny, but you know what I mean, like I
Interesting.
tried to find a post that didn't have statistics on just women. I really tried to like find something that was completely like for everyone, and it did, but it took me a hot second. It took me a hot second to like find stuff that didn't talk about just women's statistics. And like obviously it happens to women more documented, you know, but like I just thought that that was like an interesting when I was actually like looking this up about the topic, a very real, terrible, sensitive topic, you know. Sometimes we don't include everyone who's involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's good? Because no one likes to get hit from the person that they love.
No, and it's not acceptable.
Unless it's consensual.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, next scene. We go to Charlotte, who sees Mike for the first time post-op. So they're talking about how his surgery went, and she he's like, from a scale of 1 to 5, it was like a 72. And, and she's like, oh my god, you poor thing. I don't know. I
Bitch.
just thought that shit was so funny. Because surgery obviously hurts, but men are notoriously so
Yeah.
bad at pain tolerance. Like, I bet you it hurts more to get an IUD inserted.
No, I don't think so.
No.
No, not for an adult male circumcision. No, they're cutting off your fucking skin.
True. That's true.
Yeah, different.
That is true.
That's an
But not.
IUD is like pain for a couple of minutes, but like this is permanently removing skin.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's very sensitive skin too, huh?
Yeah, it's your fucking foreskin.
I want that on a t-shirt. Yeah, it's your fucking foreskin. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, she asks how long they have to wait to have sex, and he tells her a week. I don't know how realistic that timeline is.
I don't think that's that at all.
I bet you that was a minimum like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And they start making out because they're all so happy about the situation. And he stops because he starts yelling, ow, 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 ow.
Yeah, because he's probably ripping stitches.
Owie. And he just like drops the kissing. He's like, you need to go. You should go. Just go. Just go. He like kicks her out of the, I don't know. But yeah, he needs some space right now while he recovers.
Yeah.
And then much later that night, so yeah, yeah, much later that night, Miranda tries to perform a 2 a.m. seduction. So just a little side note, I love the sleepwear that Miranda gets put into, the things that she wears, like getting in and out of bed. I think are so cute. Like earlier in the
Yeah.
episode, they had this like really pretty blue dress that she had on.
Yeah.
In the scene, she has this silk slip that is like this really pretty purple with this hot pink and orange robe that's also
Mhm.
silk. It's giving Daphne from Scooby-Doo vibes, but,
Yeah.
like, in a good way. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because of her red hair. And Steve arrives, and they kiss, and she tells him, "Meet me in the bedroom while I grab us some wine." She's trying to be sexy. She's trying,
Yeah. Yeah.
She really wants to have sex with him at night. That is something
Yeah.
that she has not managed to do at this point yet and is really wanting, but when she grabs the wine and gets to the bedroom, he's passed out. And she's pissed. She slams those drinks on the fucking table and is like, I think you should go home.
Well, I think she got mad too because it's like she sacrificed her morning time for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's already passed out, and nothing is less sexy than the like when your partner goes to sleep. Like, you don't want to have sex with somebody who's sleeping, you know? Like, but
Come
I,
on.
I saw that consensually, I guess.
If I've been given the green light, you don't want to be woken up to head?
So that is not what I'm referring to. That I do think is fun. Um, what I'm referring to is like Miranda's here wanting to get dipped down,
Oh
obviously.
yeah.
She wants to have sex. Like not just give head, not just receive head, but she wants to have sex at night.
Yeah.
That is the thing they haven't managed to do.
Yeah.
And I do think that like him passing out on her like that is not sexy because
Well,
that
no.
you know.
Hey.
But I do agree that when that is allowed and
Yeah.
consensual, that is fun. But
Been there recently.
yeah, no, she tells him, I think you should go home. And he asks why, and she's like, I want to catch up on my sleep and okay, listen to this. I don't want to worry about having sex with you in the morning and then just lying there and being late. I feel
Yeah.
like gotten to the point now where she's anticipating it, she knows it's gonna happen, and she just doesn't want to do it, and that's
Yeah.
fair, you know?
Yeah.
And he tries to have sex with her now, and she's like, "No, I had a window," and he's upset. Like he's like, "You had a window for sex?" And she's like, "I'm a lawyer. I get tired, you
Yeah.
know? I and granted,
Lawyers also get billed by the hour.
yeah.
They bill they time their hours and minutes too. So,
Yeah, and I just think it's so not fair what he's doing to her, you know?
yeah. I agree.
Anyways, next scene, Charlotte and Mike finally get to make love. They get to take the
Yeah.
dog out for a walk, you know?
The
And
Sharpay.
Yeah. And well, it's not a Shar Pei anymore.
Now it
Uh,
looks like what, a fucking golden retriever. Just kidding.
yeah, I was like gonna try and think of a dog to compare it to now, but then I was like, I don't think I want to do
A
that.
Weimaraner.
I'm so terrible. I was thinking, oh, I don't remember the name of the species, but that Mexican dog that you really want, the
A
hairless one.
Xolo.
Yeah.
Or a
He's like,
wiener dog.
"Eh, he's a wiener dog. Um, but as they're about to make love, Mike is like, you realize this technically makes me a virgin. And Charlotte's like, I'll be gentle. I think that scene is so cute. And afterwards, they both agree that it was super wonderful. And, they're just like doing some pillow talk. And, um, Charlotte starts asking and throwing out suggestions about what they should do for that Friday. I'm sorry, that Saturday. And he's like, did we have plans for Saturday? And she's like, no, but, I thought this could be fun, or we could like go rent movies and stay in, whatever. And he's like, I'm not ready for us to be like a big thing.
Yeah, because he never said I'm getting circumcised for you. He said I'm doing this because of I've had all these
Yeah,
experiences with these women.
yeah. And I think
You know.
Charlotte was like his like final straw on that.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I feel like I can't be tied down right now. There's a whole new me, and I feel like I should go out there and share it. I feel like that's valid.
That's valid. That's
I
valid.
feel like that's valid. Like, but Charlotte, she's mad. She's big mad. She says, you want to share your penis?
He's a man, of course he does.
He's like, yeah, I think I should take the doggy out for a walk. And she just
Yeah.
cringes really hard and just like turns around in the bed and is like
Yeah.
they never saw each other again after that. And Carrie's little monologue comes over and he's like, you can take the Shar Pei out of the penis, but you can't take the dog out of the man.
That's There we go.
Tell
I
me I'm
agree.
wrong.
I agree.
And then, okay, so we have the finale of Mr. Big and Carrie for this episode. Mr. Big shows up at Carrie's place with a black eye. She, like, actually gave him a black eye. Like, he looks fucked up. Um, and the first words, again, are not, I'm sorry. Upon seeing the black eye that she gave him, she just says, oh, hi, would you look at that?
Yeah.
He, she, they, them, none of the above, all of the above. I don't give a shit who you are. If you give your partner a black eye and that's what you have to say when you realize that, fuck you.
Like, I apologize if I accidentally brush against you.
Yeah,
Like when I wasn't supposed to.
yeah. Like
You
if I
know?
accidentally stepped on your foot,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, I'd be like so mortified, and I'd just be like, oh my God. Like, I'd be like, how can you even, like, how can I look at this? I feel so bad.
I'm just like, I bet he's not bored now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
toxic.
because men only want love if it's torture.
Here's the one thing I agree that Taylor Swift said.
Yeah, I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan in the slightest. Some songs, but like
Yeah,
that
but
that verse, that
that
lyric
verse,
is
I have found it to be true on
boys
tons of
only
people.
want love if it's torture. And I say that shit from the beginning in my like interests and stuff. I'm like, if you're looking for drama or fighting or whatever, not the girl for you. I've been in this, I've wanted a wholesome relationship this entire time. Of course, like you can get playful, but like I'm not gonna sit here and do all this drama and do all this gameplay and do all this like to I what I do and bring should give you peace and clarity. And if it doesn't, if you need drama to feel validated,
Get to step.
get to step in. I'm not the girl for you.
But yeah, she says, would you look at that? And he says, no, you look at it. I've seen it already.
Yeah, he's pissed.
I would be too.
Yeah.
I would have shown up with the police. But that's because I'm a woman, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. Then she says, I'm no, she doesn't even say I'm sorry. She just says sorry.
Yeah. Which is so insincere.
So insincere. So oof. But she reaches for his face and he like backs away, like flinches and says, "Get your hands away from my face." Like nicely, but he does like tell her not to do that. And she laughs and she pulls his hand and pulls him into the apartment. And he tells her, "I just came to tell you something." And he says, "Maybe you need a key to know that I'm crazy about you,
Yeah.
but I've given out like 5 keys and you never get them back." And then he changes the subject. He says, "And maybe I hog my bed, but it's my bed and I like you in it."
Yeah.
And that was like, okay. And then little Miss Bradshaw says, "Wow, maybe I should hit you more often."
Well,
Mind you, he never said, "I'm going to give you a key." No,
yeah.
he did not. He even said, "I've given 5 other women keys."
It's a lot.
Yeah. And, you know, oh, and then he says, "And the oranges have to go." She's like, "What?" And he's like, "This is the thing that
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
like about you. You eat oranges in my bed and they make this sheets all sticky and they stink." First of all, who doesn't love the smell of oranges? I think that's weird.
I don't. I don't
Excuse
like the way orange peel smells.
me.
Yeah.
Okay, I grew up on an orange grove, so that probably
I
gets
mean, orange, like the smell of orange is nice, but a peel is so fragrant. Like, it's so intense. It's not
I
a
love that shit.
pleasant smell. It gets all
I'm,
on your fingers. Like, it's too
yeah,
citrusy. No.
I love it. But she's like, "That's it? That's the only thing you don't like about me?" And I can feel the relief in her voice because I feel that when you ask somebody, like, point blank, like, "What don't you like about me?" and they're going to give you a real answer.
I don't think he's saying everything.
No, but in this moment,
Yeah.
that is all he says. And that is a bit relieving to know that the worst thing that I do is eat oranges in your bed. Even though I think they smell amazing. Um, and he just says, like, "I like my sheets. Don't do that no more." And she's like, "What are
Yeah.
you gonna give me for the oranges?" Which I thought was cute. And he's like, "A negotiation." Well, it looks like I'm just gonna have to go ahead and spend the night then. So
Yeah.
win one, lose one. She doesn't get a
Right.
key, but he spends the night for the first time.
After a year,
After a year and
that's
some
been the
change.
theme of this fucking episode is after a year. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
After a year, and she says that she realized that neither of them would ever fundamentally change, but they were talking about it. And maybe that
Yeah.
was the biggest change of all. Like the opening up to that is,
Yeah, like to having the conversation.
yeah, even if it doesn't end up going somewhere, like that is a new stage. And then the next day, she says that her sheets stunk of cigars, so she changed them immediately. So it sounds like she still can't tell him not to smoke those fucking cigars around him. Even
Oh
in her
god,
own
the
home.
irony.
Yeah. Which I'm like, I'm sure your sheets already smell like cigarettes, so like,
Oh yeah, so what the fuck?
yeah, I don't know.
It's just probably the
But
comparison.
yeah. And cigars are a bit different than cigarettes, so anyways. we have the final scene of the episode now with Steve and Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 2 a.m. and Miranda can't sleep, and she gets a phone call, and it's from Steve, who is at a payphone. And he's just like, I'm sorry to bother you, and I'm sorry to wake you. I don't want to bug you, but can you do me a favor and go look outside the window and look up? So she does, and there is a huge, huge glowing moon. He tells her it's a blue moon, and it's really rare, and I just wanted you to see it. It was sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah. And they say it was right then that Miranda slowed down finally and gave in to Steve. She tells him to come over, and they make love both that night and in the morning. Good for them, you know.
Good for them.
But she was an hour late to work and didn't even notice. You know,
Sometimes it's worth it.
later in the series, it is mentioned that she doesn't take personal days.
Yeah.
She doesn't do stuff like that. So, you
Yeah.
know. But okay, I wanna. I I I hate the ending line to this episode so much, and
Mm-hmm.
I have never truly understood it. And
Okay.
the first time I watched this episode, I remember distinctly because I was like, there's no way I heard that right. So I replayed
Mm-hmm.
it and I replayed it again. But the final, like, the finality of this episode is so maybe you can't change a man, but once in a blue moon, you can change a woman.
That's, I think, relating to Miranda because as we can see, yeah, you can't change anyone, but sometimes your vulnerability, like your neuroses and shit gets in the way of you loving. And I feel like Miranda struggles with that. And I think sometimes, just like anyone, man be woman too, sometimes you have to let down the walls to be able to start to learn how to be with someone. And I feel like
I
that's what
feel
they're referring to.
I feel like what you said is very accurate and very, on point, on brand for Miranda. I feel like the phrasing that they chose for this episode ending undid what the episode did
Hmm.
in terms of, like, especially the conversation that they had about why is it the woman that always has to change?
Yeah, that's true.
I get that Miranda is specifically, strong-willed, maybe should slow down in certain aspects, but in this episode, she was late to work multiple times because this guy didn't want to have sex with her at night. He wanted to have sex with her in the morning.
Yeah.
He also said no to going and doing anything to help her. Instead, made her like lie down with him in bed and do nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like, first of all, didn't they mention that women are the ones who changed? Second of all, why does she have to slow down? She's a successful lawyer. Like, why? Why?
Because, well, there is certain compromise in relationships.
That she's the only one doing.
Well, yeah, but it
Why
theoretically.
why can't he sacrifice anything for her? If he had gone and picked up her dry cleaning, this would be a different conversation.
That's
I'm
true.
sorry. It's just
That's
like I
true.
don't understand why he did nothing for her. He did nothing for her
Yeah.
except for call her to wake her up in the middle of the night. Again, be like, go look
Fair.
at the moon.
Fair.
Granted,
I
you
mean,
don't
yeah,
have
it's romantic, but like, fair.
she had work in the morning. This bitch gets up at 7. Do you think you can go be a lawyer for like 10 hours in a day on 5 hours of sleep every fucking day and be late to work
Yeah.
every day? No.
No.
Abuse.
Yeah.
But I do think that they should have scheduled their sex. I think that that might have made the difference. I know it's not like No, I feel like scheduling your sex can be romantic, like the
It
anticipation.
can't. Well,
You know?
right. I do think like I wouldn't want to say like we're scheduling sex, but I would say like,
At
hey, we have,
6:30.
like, well, this is our time free together. Hey, did you maybe want to like go grab dinner? Maybe we can get some wine. Like,
Yeah.
obviously it can lead to you can notion the sex could be there.
Yeah. And also like, okay, Steve probably works like Friday, Saturday, Sundays, right? When she's
Right.
off.
Typically.
He probably is off of work on like say like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know. Why doesn't he go meet her right when she gets off of work on those days?
We don't know.
That's when they could schedule that
Yeah.
in. And like, I don't know, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, there is something to being spontaneous about sex, but if you have opposite schedules, you have to make it work.
Yeah.
Both.
Yep.
Both. Anyways, I'm done. That is it for old dogs, new dicks for me.
So yes,
I'm
that is. You're done this episode.
that
It is a hard. It's
fucking
a hard
episode
one.
spooked me.
It's a
I'm
hard one. I
down.
feel like we go through a lot of back to back. I feel like the cheating one was hard. We had a little break with Althea coming on, and that was a little more lighthearted. Talking about like Ed and shit. Um, but yeah, this is a harder one too because we talk about like this is like the whole theme of this episode is like complications and like hard talks and hard compromises, and so it's a rougher one. It's one I didn't essentially feel like doing now. I was kind of dreading this episode because it's just like it's like it's like weighing on me emotionally too, and it's just like it's the reality of dating, it's the reality of being with people, and it's hard. It's hard. It's a realer one uh for the series. There's some lightheartedness in it. I especially love the whole drag plot, thank God for that.
They would have been nicer.
Yeah, I don't that's fucking crazy. They
I
should
think.
they better have redemption
Yeah.
in just like that,
Needs to
right?
bring the drag queen back into and just like that. Give her redemption.
Plug it to the writers.
No, seriously. I
Yeah.
think that they could do some retribution for the shitty
Absolutely.
trails that they did in the show.
I think that they're trying though.
Yeah, I do think that they're trying in certain ways.
Yeah.
For sure.
But anyway, yeah, hard episode. We got through it. This was halfway through, and like I said earlier, gets a little bit harder as we get through the rest of the season. Episode 1 compared to the last episode of this season is very drastic. So stick around for that because it's gonna get crazy. But thanks for sticking around for season 2, episode 9. What was it?
Yeah.
Old dog, new dicks.
Yep. And then next we have the caste system.
Oh, this is a good one too. I do like this episode a lot.
Yep. And oh, this is the one where I love you gets thrown out there.
Is it this one? Oh, it is this one. You were right. Woohoo!
Oh.
That's an interesting phrase.
Yep. Fuck the suit.
Oh, fuck the suit. That's a hard one for me too. It's a hard couple episodes coming up. It's a harder season. But
it's a good season.
It's a heavy one.
That's how you know it's good though, that it like draws that emotion out of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yes, thanks again for sticking around. If you did till the very end, if not, if you've listened at all for any portion of any time, thank you so much. I just sent out like a little appreciative post the other day. Life's been a little crazy lately, so I haven't been able to post like clips like when they're supposed to be coming out and like the episodes when they're supposed to be coming out. I know we're trying to hit for every Tuesday. That got kind of thrown off. it happens. We apologize, but we're trying to
Okay.
get back on track with that. So, but I mean, hey, we're at least getting an episode out like at least once a week. So,
Yep.
but yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking around, for being patient, for listening, for all the support. We can't thank you guys enough. We're gonna get excited to post this one, and we are going to see you guys next week. So thank you so much. So bye guys.